Welcome back to the Comic Book ASM Artist. Today I'm going to be talking about my experience at the Ace Comic Con in Seattle this past weekend. I also do have a vlog up. There will be a link below to that video if you want to check that out. Me and my kids going on Saturday. So for you, I'm going to recount both days' events. On Friday for the event, I went up by myself right after work, just hopped on the bus and went down there. And I waited about 2 hours to get in, and I got my books to get signed, and I was pretty well on my way. Stuff was relatively calm on Thursday. So let me just show you the stuff I got signed and talk a little bit about it. So first off, I got to meet Billy Martin. He used to be in the group Good Charlotte, and I didn't know much about him, but I did look and see some stuff that he had done. And I was fortunate enough that at the con he did have books for sale that he'd worked on. So he'd done the covers for these, but not the interiors. So this is from the Animated Turtles miniseries here. And his signature is right there. And then I got the two others later that I'll show off when I recount Saturday's events. And then I got this one that's an homage to the old Todd McFarlane Spider-Man cover. So I thought that was pretty cool because you all know Captain America is my favorite hero, so I was glad to have a piece of that. Definitely nothing quite like Todd's work, but still cool nonetheless. And then here's his little card with his information if you want to check out his stuff. But he said right now is a little tougher because they're doing the transition with the Turtles. So while the books are not out yet, he's not really seeing any work from IDW yet for the new animated stuff, since it's not out until I want to say September or so. Then I got my entire run of the Winter Soldier signed by Brian Thies. And there's his signature there. And I had the whole run except for I was missing issue number 6. And he actually works out of the Seattle area. And he was selling books too, and he had a huge stack of them. And he said he was going to check in his studio to see if he had a copy of number 6 for me. So I came back on Saturday and he didn't have one, but he was super nice. I'm not a guy who typically, goes overboard to have one person sign, a large amount of books, but I figured since I had the whole run, I might as well get it all signed. So, and he was actually appreciative of that. And if you haven't read this arc of the Winter Soldier is extraordinary. It comes right off of Steve Epting and Brubaker's stuff. Really tells the story in the same vein. Really good. I haven't read any of the recent stuff at all, but I know this run was exceptional. And then there's his contact information if you guys want it. Check him out. And he inked on all these books, but he was actually working on a couple Winter Soldier pieces there at his table. And his stuff was quite good. So that's the thing when you're inking, sometimes you have to take a little bit of a backseat to your own vision and try to push forward with what the penciler has laid down. So it's cool to see whenever someone who's known for inking is able to step out and create a piece that is 100% there. So it's really nice. And he, in general, was just really approachable and nice. And I was able to talk to him about my original character coming out and everything. And he was just really cool and supportive. And I even talked about this channel to him. So I doubt he's watching, but if he is, thank you so much, Brian, for being so approachable and welcoming to me. And the next guys I got, they were kind of harder to attain their signatures. I had to wait a bit for all of them. So Umberto Ramos, he was actually doing a panel, a demonstration, a live drawing of Spider-Man on one of the stages. So he actually wasn't at his table for about the first 3 hours or so of the event. But there's his signature right there. It's a polarizing Dan Slott arc that not a lot of people care for, but I mean, especially like this arc in particular with the stuff that happened with Doctor Octopus taking over his body and beating his own body lifeless and all that. Like this story got a genuine reaction out of me. I know a lot of people really hated things that happened, but they definitely tugged at some emotional elements for me. So I thought that was really good, and I appreciated this story, even though it's one that is um, pretty polarizing. Not to say I enjoy everything Dan's done, but this was something that was interesting, and it definitely pulled my emotional cord. So then I got this Robbie Rodriguez signed book here, and he actually did a little Batwoman head sketch for me. And he's known for Spider Gwen, but I didn't have any Spider Gwen stuff, so I lucked out that I did have this cover for him. So yeah, he was more than happy to sign it, and he was really banging these out for quite a few people. He did some of Spider Gwen in kind of a similar fashion, and he's just once again really nice and approachable. So and the big one for me to try to obtain was Sam Keith, and he actually was not at his table for quite a while. Um, and when I first got on the scene, I was trying to get his immediately since I anticipated people to be trying to meet him pretty quickly. But I got there, and his handlers were like, "Oh, he'll be here in like 30 minutes or so," and I kept checking back with him, and I was just circling the floor more or less between him and Umberto Ramos, and they were both just not present at their tables. I'd come to find out that Sam was actually having some back issues, so he was, taking a breather, trying to work that off before he would sit down. But once he did come out, like I said, it was around the same thing where I was more or less in the vicinity for, quite a few hours checking back on the table for him. And yeah, he was really nice and approachable. And he thought that this was an odd book for his signature, I guess. But I thought it was really cool. I like how it has like the mixed color with the pencils on it. That's maybe the brain hanging out there with something that is a little off-putting, maybe. But yeah, definitely. I thought this cover was very striking. And then this one I got signed for you guys. Whenever I do the 1,000 subscriber contest, I will add this issue into the pot of the signed books. So hope you all enjoy that. But you gotta help me get there. So. And then finally, well, not finally, but in between all that, I was also met Clayton Crane, and I've met him in the past. And the main reason I was going to meet him this time was to get a poster signed for you guys for when we get to the 500 subscriber mark. I'm doing like a 5 poster prize pack. And yeah, so this will be the poster signed by Clayton Crane that goes in that. It's a nice Punisher poster. And there's his signature right there. So we hit old 500. That'll go to you with 4 other great posters of the same size. And once again, this was something that he had never seen before. All of these Marvel marketing posters, none of the artists have seen. So it's always cool to get a surprise reaction out of them whenever I present one of these to get signed by him. So pretty neat. And he had a thing at his table where he's like, "Hey, it's $5 per book to get signed." I was like, "So I owe you 5 for the signature, right?" And he's like, "Oh no, I'm not really worried about that." And so he signed it for me and didn't ask for any money, but I did give him the 5 anyway, just because. And his son was there, and he was his change maker more or less. And we were busy talking and stuff, and I gave him a 10. And then like we had spaced out and the 5 was just sitting on the table for like a good minute. And he was wondering why I was still standing. I was like, "Oh, can I have my change, please?" And he was, "Oh, sorry." So this little awkward moment there. And then we had another awkward moment that followed on a Saturday that I'll talk about in a minute. But for the rest of that evening, after I gathered all my signatures, I went to the main stage area here, and they had like I can actually flip it over here. Was the D&D with Beetle and Grimm's design a dungeon with Matthew Lillard, basically taking suggestions from the audience about ideas for a D&D game. The Matthew Lillard actually came out to the crowd and awkwardly sat next to me for like 20 seconds and touched my leg, and he's like, "Hey, sailor." And I was like, "Oh, hi." And then he just like hopped up and continued to harass other people in the audience as well. So I thought that was really random to have old Shaggy do something like that. So, but then after that panel was the evening with Kevin Smith, and I had never been to a Kevin Smith live show before. But this was more or less a Q&A here. I don't know if that's even his typical structure. So I was kind of bummed that it wasn't like a set comedy act. It was just him taking questions. He got about maybe 5 or so questions were lobbed out to him, and he goes on 20-minute tangents or whatever. So it was definitely enjoyable. And I had really good seats. I ended up in like the 5th row or something. So if you'll notice on my vlog, whenever there's the pictures of him where he's in his jersey with all 3 of the Kevin Smiths on his shirt, those pictures were actually from that Friday panel when I had the really good seats. And then, the other ones, which I'll talk about in a minute. So after that, I went home, and then we moved on to Saturday here. And Saturday, I got a little bit of a late start. I had my kids with me. We took the bus over, and we actually got on the double-decker bus, which was cool. And we got down there, and we started on the floor immediately, so I could try to get some footage, which you saw in the vlog of me walking the floor and all that, so you guys could see what I saw. And we were on the quest to try to find something for Matt Lillard to sign. He was actually signing for free at the Mox booth because he's promoting a D&D kit he's working on. I'm trying to remember the name of it, but you can look it up. It's Beetle and Grimm's, I believe, is his company. So you can look up his company and see what he's up to see that kit that he has coming out. It's more or less like an all-in-one box for everything you need for a really good D&D campaign. But by the time we found a copy of Scooby-Doo, we found a copy of Scooby-Doo 2, but by the time we got to where Matt was said to be signing, he was no longer there. So it was kind of a bummer. Then we hit up old Billy Martin's table again, and I got the other two parts to that turtle story. And these are actually going to go to my youngest boy here. But I just wanted to have the full story. And then my oldest son got this Invader Zim variant cover had done. And then while we were walking the floor, I found some vintage toys, and I found original Softhead Rocksteady action figure, as well as a foot soldier. And the retail on it was $50, but they cut it down to $40 for the pair for me. And then after that, that was when my kids they were drawn to another booth. And that booth had that's where we got our copy of Scooby-Doo 2 at. And then that booth is actually where the bulk of my money went to, as I'll show you in a minute here why. They had, I don't know if you guys, well, you know that I'm a huge turtle fan, but they used to have all the toys, and I've been trying to reacquire them. My local Value Village, I've found like the originals, but with no belts or anything, just literally the figures loose. But this booth had like pretty much most of the vintage figures I wanted for super cheap. They had old Leatherhead. As a kid, I popped this part off completely. And these guys did come with some of their accessories as well. Splinter with his robe, and I had a totally naked one before this. A Baxter Stockman that I never owned as a kid but always wanted. Here's that soft head Rocksteady I was talking about earlier. And he came with all of his accessories here. Here's that foot soldier. April O'Neil. And I never had her as a kid either. I had very few of these. Here's Donnie with his belt and his staff. I rebought all of the turtles because they all had their belts. Raph. Sadly, the Mike was missing his nunchucks, but still, he has his belt, so it's good enough for me. And Leo. And then Metalhead. And then I went back to the other booth because they didn't have this one at the guys who were super cheap. So this Casey was 15. And then, yeah, here's the bag with like most of the weapons in it here or other props. The golf bag. Here's other bats. It's from the foot soldier. As is this piece here. These were with April. Apparently she needs a handgun when she's reporting her news. And then their camera there and a briefcase. Here's Baxter Stockman's fly swatter with a smashed turtle on it. I don't remember who this went with. These were with Leatherhead. Little bear trap there. These are Metalhead's attachments. And then some remaining turtle weapons here. And then I already had these guys. Old Bebop and Shredder. And my Yosagi, I need to glue his ears back on. My kids broke him off, unfortunately. And then they had some of the little cutout cards, too. So, pretty neat. But all the ones I got from the one vendor were around $6 a piece, I figured. Which is why I splurged and got them all. Fortunately, went way over my budget, but initially I was just going to do panels that Saturday, but I took my kids with me and they can't sit through all that, so we had to be running around and on the floor, so the temptation was too big for me, unfortunately. But at least I got some great toys I always wanted. And then they had this there too for only 10. This was the original first Spawn figure. And this was still in the box, but the box was all banged up. And the play feature here is this closes. And actually on this side, the plastic's not very age durable, so it's already cracking here, so I'm not going to try to bend it anymore. And then he has this little plank here with a spike in it. But I think the coolest thing, I mean, I have that detailed Spawn I have on my shelf, but right here you can see it says Todd's Toys. That's what the company was initially called, not McFarlane Toys. And then on the back too, see TMP Toys, see? So that's a nice little time capsule of itself. And unfortunately, the book was dinged up from being in the box that was damaged. And the artwork inside is not from Todd either. So definitely, matches the tone of the Spawn stuff, but not the same art. So that was kind of a letdown. But if nothing else, to have that original toy and to be able to see the beginnings of the toy line before it even became what it is now, pretty neat. Another cool thing, there was a group there, I believe they were called Avengers Against Bullying. And basically, what they do is they take kids who've been in traumatic situations and they cosplay them in these legit superhero suits and they Photoshop them into these incredible backgrounds. They insert them into the cinematic universe. And they all have a QR code where you can see their stories too. So, thought these were really cool. As you guys know, kids mean a lot to me. My series is gonna empower kids a lot. So, it's nice to see that not being overlooked here either. And they even had like little trading cards that my son got. He loves those. Now I don't know how they did this one, but they're insistent upon this was a costume here, but if it is, it's pretty impressive. So very cool. I'm glad that they're doing that for these guys and inspiring others. And then while we were on the floor, I swung back around and there was a company selling trades for really cheap. And I was able to reacquire. This was the first work I ever got exposed to of Clayton Crane here. Yeah, it's really good stuff. I'll probably do a reading of this on the channel. It's short enough and the art is really enjoyable. And then this one I never read. And unfortunately, the book is pretty severely damaged. They gave me a heavy discount on it. But you can see all the gross print defects on it. So that's kind of a bummer, but I've never read this one. He did sign it as well. But it's got Captain America in it too, so couldn't pass that up. So looking forward to reading it. And yeah, my interaction with Clayton was different on this day. Got both of these signed, and remembering what he said the previous day, it's just like, all right, we'll have a good con. And he's like, hold on, wait, it's $10. I was like, oh, okay. So kind of an awkward moment there too, because I assumed that he remembered me from the day before, where he's like, you don't have to worry about paying. And then I proceeded to be like, oh well, and handed him the money this time. But I mean, I get why they charge. It's to discourage people from just loading them up and flipping the books. He is an incredible artist, and I respect his talent, and I respect his decision to charge. But that was just a fun little awkward moment. I was like, oh crap. So I didn't mean to put him off in any way there, but just a little awkward moment between us there. And then the rest of the evening there, we actually ran across the street. We got some super cheap hot dog combos. If you go to the CenturyLink field right across the street, there are hot dog vendors, and they had a little Sluggers combo. Comes with a hot dog, chips, and a drink for $3.50. So me and my kids got that, and mine was even a chili dog. So we ate for less than the price of two sodas inside the event. So definitely worth popping out across the street. So if you are in the area, keep that in mind if you want to budget for meals on the cheap by the stadium. So, but yeah, and then you guys saw my vlog too. After that, we proceeded to go to the Flash panel, moderated by Kevin Smith, as well as the Civil War panel with Tom Holland, Sebastian Stan, and Anthony Mackie. And both of those were really great. And as I said, the Flash panel, we had okay seating for that. Not as close as the Evening with Kevin Smith one. But then it was kind of a bummer because for the Marvel panel, they actually cleared the entire room, which, they do that for San Diego and stuff. But all of the panels before this, they weren't clearing the rooms at all. And there was actually people who were camping there and progressing to better seats as the day went on. And some of those people were actually riding the bus home with me, and I got to hear their frustration. And they said that the VIP people were the people who owned the room essentially, so they cleared out all of the seating here. Literally, this entire thing was filled with VIP ticket holders, which was insane. I had no idea that many people would have VIP packages. And these things, the cheapest they went for was around $300. And most of them, like Haley Atwell's, was like 300, and the people like Anthony Mackie and theirs were around 400 or 500 upwards, stuff like that. So they actually put us over here. And what was really crummy about this is there was actually a second stage between us with like a jumbotron here. So we had all this crap between us and all these people, and then the show was here, and we had our screens here and this big screen here behind them. But still, we literally could see the entire show floor. I mean, we had like all like the photo op stuff that you saw the pictures of. All that was between us, like the monitors with the game set up. So we were just on these risers, like pressed against the wall. So there was a huge disconnect, We had kids over there who were, not being so quiet, so it's harder to hear. The panel is definitely still plenty loud, but, not as immersive as being right here. So, and that was actually what made me not go on Sunday, because I knew they were going to pull the same thing for Tom Hiddleston's panel, which would be the only reason for me going on the Sunday. So I chose not to go on Sunday because I knew they were going to do the same thing. And they did stream all these panels, and they actually have a YouTube channel, Ace Universe. You can go on there, subscribe to them, and see all the great panels I went to, and more panels. All the ones that say main stage here, they recorded those and posted them online. So, except for the Kevin Smith one, I guess, because of the language was, and he did swear quite a bit at the other panels, but content was a little more, Kevin Smithy for that one, obviously. But all the other ones, the Vision and Scarlet Witch panel, Andy Parks panel, Flash panel, the Tom Holland, all that good stuff. And this never happened. They just cleared out because this panel actually went extra long. And if you watch it, you'll see the last 2 or 3 Q&As were super cringy. So sorry that it kind of devolved that way, and those actors had to put up with people talking to them like that, which is unfortunate. Anthony Mackie likes to have fun and throw people's I don't know what you want to call it, but Anthony definitely doesn't roll over when people, you know, try to goof on him. So he was pushing it back at him, and it just got pretty uncomfortable. There's more or less a lot of girls who were trying to side with Tom Holland and put down the other actors on the stage, and it was just kind of a bummer for it to end on that note. And then for Tom Holland's or Tom Hiddleston's panel, they actually did not have a Q&A, probably for that very reason, and they were even trying to force them to do a Q&A, but they had no mics in the audience, probably for that same reason. They didn't want to have a second showing of that same type of behavior. So I thought that was a wise move on their part. And then there was also like the Haley Atwell panel was also on Sunday too. But like I said, all this stuff you can watch on Ace Universe is their YouTube channel, so check that out. Well, that's gonna do it for me now. So, saying that, you all have a good day or night. Thank you so much, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks. Bye.